Hello everyone, I'm Tracy. Thank you for tuning in today. So I have two stories I'm going to be doing updates for. One is on the short-term rental ban that is being proposed in Maui through the Maui County Council with the support of Mayor Bissen as well as Lahaina Strong. And the second story I'll be going into are the problems going on within the HART project, or the rail project that is underway on Oahu. I'll put a link up here if you want to watch my first video on the plans for the TOD corridor in Honolulu. If you want to get the details, you can hear all about it then. But today I'll be discussing some of the resignations and problems with staffing that are currently going on, and it sounds like it's pretty bad and the project is at risk for failing altogether. Before we get started, if you are new, please subscribe before you leave. And for everyone, if you would please like, comment, and share this video so we can let as many people know about what's going on in Hawaii, I would really appreciate it. So let's start out with the Maui County Council proposing the ban on short-term rentals for apartments.
We come before you to announce our collective intent to phase out and repeal the transient vacation rentals in the apartment district, also referred to as the Minatoya list. As you may recall, I initially announced my intent to do this at our State of the County address on March 15th. Today, in partnership with my Lahaina advisory team, Council member Keani Rawlins-Fernandez, and our friends from Lahaina Strong, we are announcing our intent to present proposed legislation to all county planning commissions to revert all apartment district properties to their intended long-term residential use by removing the exception provided to those properties built or approved prior to 1989 and fully discontinue transient vacation rentals use in apartment districts by July 1st, 2025.
Now, there are areas that are zoned for apartments and some that are zoned for hotels. So the areas that they're looking to ban short-term rentals are within the apartment area, or it's called the Minatoya list, so zones for apartments. Now, the idea is that if they ban the short-term rentals, it would make housing a lot more affordable, and people on Maui can afford a place to rent or to even own. So this, maybe on the surface sounds like it would make housing more affordable, but as someone who owns property and has run a short-term rental for over 5 years, I'll give you some insight as to why I don't think this proposal is going to solve the housing problems. So one big thing that that needs to be considered when you buy a property is that you don't just have to put a down payment and pay your mortgage. There are a lot of other expenses that come along with owning a property that you might not understand unless you do own a property. So one thing is HOA fees, especially on Maui, these beachfront properties, HOA fees are very expensive. Also maintenance, if you have a property near the ocean, maintenance is extremely expensive because that salt air and the wind cause a lot of damage to metals and wood. So you need to consider, on top of your mortgage, you're going to have a potential $1,000 a month HOA fee. You're going to have to maintain your property, and you also have to pay property tax. So let's say a person is now able to afford a $500,000 apartment on the beach. Say their mortgage is $1,500, add $1,000, that's $2,500. Add property tax, that could be, I would say, at least $500. So you're looking at a bare minimum of $3,000 a month just to be in that unit. Now, and that's not considering maintenance or anything like that. So it's not exactly going to make living in Maui so affordable. So, you know, it would be nice if there was a very simple solution to making housing affordable in Maui. But I think the problem and the solution are so much more complicated than that. And I do think the Lahaina Strong group is being misled and is not fully informed of what the implications of banning short-term rentals are going to be. And I do believe the lobbyists for the hotels and restaurants are pushing for this because they think that they're going to get all this business. But I don't really think that's going to happen, because the hotels there, even if you get one that's not so expensive, staying at a hotel is incredibly expensive nowadays. And especially on Maui, there's so many fees, and I think a lot of people looking to go on vacation are simply going to choose somewhere else. So I don't see this ban affecting tourism in a positive way. I think it's going to bring tourism down, and it's also going to infringe on private property rights. So it's not really legal to tell a property owner exactly how to run their property. And so lawsuits are going to be filed fighting this. And this has been going on. This is not the first time, through my research, it's not the first time that these units have been attempted to ban short-term rentals. But I guess they're trying again, hoping that it'll work this time. I don't see it being successful. It might pass through the Maui County Council, but I don't think these rules will be implemented anytime soon. Even this legislation doesn't come into effect for like a year. So the housing crisis going on right now with people that lost their homes in the fire, they need housing like today. They don't have a year plus for things to get better. And even though they do succeed in banning it, it's going to take time for the market to come down, and it's just simply going to be too expensive still for the average person to even rent or to own. So I did want to share that, some insight that maybe some people are not familiar with is that there's this conception, I think, to some people that having a short-term rental earns a lot of money. And I can speak from firsthand experience. It does not, because of the cost associated with maintaining and keeping that property. Those three things that I mentioned before: property tax, maintenance, and HOAs. So, you know, having to do those things and run an Airbnb, for example, often will not even break even. You know, you can't count on that property being rented all the time. And when I was there in October, the unit that I was staying at in Ma'alea, it was only, the occupancy was not even 50%, probably not even 30%. So a lot of people that own these properties are not, they're not renting it out. And so if you don't have people renting it, you still have to pay taxes, maintenance, and HOA, and oftentimes a mortgage. So I did want to, you know, put that out there and try to kind of reason with people who think that this is the solution. But I strongly believe that it is not, and it also, again, infringes on property owners' rights. Okay, so now let's move on to the HART project. I did a video a couple weeks ago about the resignation of one of the top directors. His name was Nate Meddings. He left his position for family reasons and left the state and moved to the mainland. And that caused problems within the executive level between Lori Kahikina, who is the CEO, and Colleen Hanabusa, who is one of the top directors. I'll play it right now, actually.
Kahikina's contract expires at the end of the year, but the HART Board's HR committee has deferred talks for several months. In a meeting today, Kahikina said she may not be the leader of the agency next year.
Frustrations came to a head at the Rail Transit Board during a HART Human Resources Committee meeting last month over CEO Lori Kahikina's leadership and staffing.
He made his decision, and I wasn't going to...
That's not my point. That's not my point, Lori.
It's very difficult to recruit somebody who's unsure who their boss is going to be.
And you've articulated that to them, and that's why they have that concern.
The one very strong candidate to be my deputy or the deputy of the CEO, yes. I told him, I said, you know, I really don't know what's happening with my contract. I may be gone next year. He says, then I'm not coming. The longer you folks delay, the more difficult it becomes.
That's interesting because I really hadn't heard of this kind of issue before today.
One board member worries about the delayed contract talks.
I just want to voice my concern that this particular item has been deferred for the last several months. And I think the longer we take to make this decision, the more it's going to impact the project and make it more difficult for us to bring in qualified candidates.
The HR committee chair did not set a date for contract discussions. Mahealani Richardson, Hawaii News Now.
So they were discussing the other options that they could have offered Nate so that he wouldn't resign, but it sounded like he was going to resign no matter what. So something else that is now becoming a problem is the CEO, Lori Kahikina, who is very well liked within the organization. Her contract ends this year, and it doesn't sound like she's coming back. Either she doesn't want to come back, or the company is not going to extend her contract. So the vacancies that they're trying to fill, including her deputy position, they're becoming very difficult to find people for. And she even said that she found a really strong candidate for her deputy, but because she doesn't know if she'll be with the project, they don't want to take the position because they want to know who their boss is. You know, your boss, who they are, how they're like, can really make your life a living hell, or it can make it very, I guess, satisfying as far as a job is concerned. So that is something that came up recently, and I'll leave an article where you can read about it, where she goes into the problems she's having, you know, filling these positions. And it does sound like the HART project is the most expensive public works project that Hawaii has ever taken on at $10 billion. And it doesn't sound like it is going well, and it's at risk for failing altogether, which would be a huge blow to the economy, a huge blow to the government. This is a plan that has been in the works for a long time. A lot of money, a lot of effort has been put into it already. For it to fail now would be a very, very big deal. So if you're in Hawaii and you're paying taxes, you know, that is just so upsetting to see these types of things, these problems arising within this project. Something else I wanted to point out about the rail project. Right now, the ridership is very low. So there is part of the rail that is functioning every day. And the Director of Transportation in Honolulu reported back in January that he wanted there to be between 8,000 and 10,000 riders every day by the end of 2023. And the ridership was only 3,323 a day. And that even counts the first 5 days where people rode for free, you know, kind of to check it out. So it's maybe about a third of what they were hoping. And at that rate, it cost $72 for taxpayers per rider, and the fare for the rail is $3. So it's costing taxpayers a lot of money, every day because not enough people are using the rail. And when I did this report, the first one about the HART project, a lot of comments said that they don't know anyone that wants to ride the rail, and they certainly don't know anyone that wants to pay to ride the rail system. Because in Honolulu, public transportation is very poor, so you often need a ride to the station, then you take the rail, and then you often need a ride to get to wherever it is. So you either need to have a car still or use an Uber, and I just think for the average person, it's just simply too much trouble and too much money to use the rail system. So a lot of things are stacking up against this project, and I wanted to share that with everyone. So yeah, those are the two things I wanted to discuss. I have a video that is being put together where we will be presenting the TOD corridor plans for Kauai, and I'll be going into some of the problems facing Kauai's police chief, Todd Raybuck. He's also from Vegas, just like John Pelletier. And so I'm going to put something together to share with you all. So that's going to do it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.